Welcome, everybody, to Straight Shoot a Wrestling podcast. Today, we're going down a new path and a new avenue and starting fresh. For all of you that know, Santi has moved on, and so has the rest of the team, and we have decided that we need to bring in the big guns to help make Straight Shoot as successful as ever. And in doing so, I have reached out to a very good friend of ours, a longtime viewer of the channel, but also a massive professional wrestling content creator in himself. Ladies and gentlemen, the Con Man 167 is officially on Straight Shoot Media. What's going on, my brother?
My man, thanks for having me. Very much appreciated. Dude, I'm actually so pumped up to get to chat wrestling with you. Like you said, been watching for a long time, been following your guys' content, and I reached out to you guys like back in, what was it? June. We were sitting there at the bar having a little drinky poo before Forbidden Door. Yeah. And here we are a few months later having a little chit chat here for wrestling. And
I can't wait to see what kind of creativity we come up with. I'm super excited, dude. And I appreciate you coming over and lending us your brain, lending us your knowledge, and just, you know, talking professional wrestling. But before we get into today's conversation, I want to ask you first. You have been a wrestling content creator for a very long time. What drives you? What got you here? And what do you see the future of, first off, your channel and potentially what you can do with Straight Shoot?
What drove me is that I love professional wrestling. I've been watching it since like I was 10 years old, 9 years old, something like that. It is my favorite thing to throw on every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Like, I can't get enough of it, man. And that's why I made this channel. I wanted to chat wrestling with people. And here we are. Like, I don't know what else to say other than that. I just love wrestling, man.
Nah, it's awesome, dude. And don't worry, guys. All of Con's content and all his links will be down below. But Con, we have a very interesting topic because there is a seismic shift in professional wrestling right now. And with that being said, we had a very large change on Monday Night Raw, or Friday Night SmackDown this past week, with the introduction of the past one of the greatest NWA World Champions in the National Treasure, Nick Aldis, joining WWE's creative team and on screen as a general manager of SmackDown. First off, thoughts on Nick Aldis finally stepping foot in that ring.
It was awesome. It was perfect. Like, we were chatting a little bit beforehand, and you were saying you're going to mark out if you see Nick Aldis in the ring. And rightfully so, you marked out, man. Yeah. I checked out your clips. You were just absolutely freaking out for this dude. Yeah. Popping off, because this guy is a legend for a reason. Yeah. Former NWA World's Champion. And for those of you who watched, you might have seen Cody Rhodes take that NWA World's Champion from Nick Aldis way back when. But don't be like me and call him Mangus, because that is not his name, all right?
Please,
I got ripped to shreds for calling him Mangus. That a little bit of a con botch right there, if you will. But like I said, man, this guy is absolutely incredible, and he is a huge mind for the business. Yep. He's going to be great in WWE.
Yeah, it's huge. And now, before coming on to here, you and I talked about the creativity now that WWE has at its fingertips. Now, let me run this for you for a second. We have currently on WWE's creative team, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Paul Heyman. Okay, first off, that's starting to sound like a lineup for like a massive World Series Yankees team, okay? But then you have your others in Robert Roode, Nick Aldis, Adam Pearce, who, don't forget, is an ex-NWA World Champion. You also have Sean Helms and the legend from TNA himself, Abyss. That is...
It's amazing. It's like you don't get a better lineup than that right there. Like, I don't think you could put together a better team for what you're doing in WWE right now. A mix of in-ring athleticism, big brain for the business, and just understanding classic heel and face dynamics. Like, they've got that across the board in their creative team right now.
And I think the one thing that we're seeing, though, is it's also not across just who's been in WWE. They have pulled from everything that we grew up on as kids, from the 90s and the Attitude Era into the Ruthless Aggression, everything that was happening in TNA with, the six-sided ring, the X Division, and everything that was going on over there. You've got the NWA guys, you've got Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan, all blended into one, with Triple H and virtually Paul Heyman and Shawn Michaels at the helm. And it shows that on WWE television, you're almost feeling like you're getting that ruggedness of Impact. You're getting that indie show. You're getting like everything we're seeing, like the backstage segments, which are very Triple H with what's going on, like we saw with Drew and Rhea the other night. But I don't want this to be more of, oh my God, let's mark out and like lay in bed with WWE. We also got to talk AEW and the dynamic that we're seeing with this creative team in WWE compared to the creative team of AEW. And it's almost showing on screen what the difference in levels we're talking here. Now, you've got the creative team for AEW, so run that out for us, and let's just talk about the minds that we have and where these people can go with what they have to offer.
Well, before I get into that, you brought up a really good point that WWE is just picking from all these different systems that have been successful through the years. And we're going to see a stark contrast between what WWE has done with their creative team, kind of getting like one person from here and another person with this experience from over here, as opposed to AEW, where their team consists of QT Marshall, Sanjay Dutt, Will Washington, Pat Buck, Jerry Lynn, Christopher Daniels, and Dean Malenko. Now, no shot at any of those names right there at all. But when I read those names versus what we have in WWE, let's say, it's pretty apparent that this is an indie style that we got going on over in AEW. There is not a lot of variety when it comes to it. I mean, you can argue Will Washington is bringing the most if you could argue that he's got just a completely different take compared to everybody else, because he doesn't come from the independent scene. He comes from online, right? Yeah. But other than that, like Pat Buck, Jerry Lynn, Christopher Daniels, Dean Malenko, Sanjay Dutt, QT Marshall are all kind of in that same smaller individual work rate type of style. Yeah, and that's what we always see on AEW is more of the dynamic of the match without the storyline and the creative build of the match. A perfect example, the Edge and Christian segment. You could have kept Edge and Christian separate for the better part of 6 months and just have an absolute like accidental shoulder rub in the back to start that snowball for the feud, build it out, let it run. You could have had Edge and Christian not touch or even go close to each other. They did it well, don't get me wrong. Have they touched yet? I think they've been in the same ring. They hugged. I think Christian keeps getting away, right? They hugged. That's all they did. They hugged. It was a hug. Okay, gotcha. The hug, and then they separated. There hasn't been a fight with that yet. No. But then obviously Edge wants to have his his fun matches, his dream matches per se. But let's stay on topic where we're talking that we do have a lot of smaller guys. And I wouldn't even say maybe 3 Hall of Famers if I would to put that down there. If I was to say WWE was to put 3 people in the Hall of Fame right now, I would say it would be QT Marshall, Christopher Daniels, and Will Washington. Dean Malenko. Oh, Dean Malenko, obviously, yeah. But yeah, Jerry Lynn's got to be in there. I mean, like, look, they've got a pretty star-studded cast as well. It's just a smaller work rate style, which again, we're talking about the different styles right now between WWE and AEW, and it is apparent it's because of the producers or the creative team. Yeah, we've got Abyss, for example, in WWE, right? Monster, a man who got over because of presentation. Yes, in-ring work and, going through thumbtacks and all that, but presentation and character work. That's what got Abyss over and kept him over for all those years. Yep. And that's why we're seeing character work in WWE, because you got minds like Abyss right now who are putting that forward, trying to help people out, try to establish new characters. Yep. AEW, on the other hand, great in-ring wrestling. I personally love it, all right? But it is, you can see the difference in styles. Yeah, very much so. And it's kind of funny when you mention Abyss, because he's one of the ones I really wanted to touch on, because he's been with the creative team for quite some time now. Apparently, he was the one that billed Gunther and Sheamus at Clash at the Castle. Wow. And he was also the one that did Gunther, Drew, and Sheamus at Mania. Those were his matches.
So if that's what we're looking at creativity wise, well done to him for one. But then you look at what we have going forward. We now have the announcement of basically 2 Hall of Fame MWA world champions leading the shows in general managers. And don't sleep on Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce has done I enjoy Adam Pearce. I really enjoy. He gives me like Eric Bischoff / Teddy Long vibes. Like if you blended them together, he's kind of goofy, but he can be serious.
I can feel that.
Yeah, he can blend those 2 characters and really be serious when he needs to be serious. But he can also be that pushover that Teddy Long kind of was at times. You know,
his promo game has gotten so good over the last year, I would say.
Yeah.
Like he feels like when he speaks, he means what he's saying. Like he's not just reading a line, he means what he's saying.
Yeah, and the work now that we can have of Adam and Nick working against each other, especially to build the Survivor Series. Like I'm almost wondering if we're going to get the traditional 5v5 and War Games.
Yeah, you know what? We might, man.
Because there's so much being built around the bloodline and obviously Judgment Day, and there's something there for a War Games, which I'd be okay with, especially with the introduction of JD McDonough. But there's also that ability that now we've got 2 strong GMs that can put finally a solid 5v5 together with Sammy, Jay, Drew, all these guys, but there's dynamics in the storylines between each other. So what we have right now is so much opportunity.
Good word.
So much opportunity with this star-studded lineup to sit during their Tuesday morning, production meeting and being like, all right, now what do we do? Because I think go on.
Sorry to interrupt, but we also have something that we haven't had in a little bit, where we actually have 2 separate GMs that can do trades back and forth with each other.
Yep.
You can make deals. You can push your brand to be the best, because beforehand with Adam Pearce just being on both shows, there was no incentive for him to trade one guy for another, right? Like you run both shows, man. You're just trying to put on a good show, but now there's a reason to try to make your roster the best it could be.
Yeah.
I've also wondered for a long time with Survivor Series if there should be something that the winning team gets, like the winning brand gets, like the first overall pick in the WWE draft in the next year, or something like that could just end up being a way to make Survivor Series feel a little more important. Yeah,
there was one I was thinking about, and we were given a hint to it the other night on Raw, in a Fatal 5-Way for the championship at Crown Jewel for the Women's World Championship. Almost like maybe the incentive is whatever team wins, then they do a Fatal 5-Way for the winning team for a #1 contender spot at the Royal Rumble.
Ooh, okay. That's kind of cool. Could it be for like the number 30 spot in the Royal Rumble if we really wanted to add to it?
Yeah, why not? But there's so much more opportunity. Like you said, I think opportunity is going to be the word of this conversation. But you can have the number 30 spot, and the losing team has to battle for
the number 1?
For the number 1 spot, like whoever's first pinned gets the number 1 spot. You know what I mean? And it could work. We've never seen it, but have something, because the one thing we get the Royal Rumble winner gets the main event at WrestleMania, right?
Correct.
Elimination Chamber, I believe, is the other main event.
When they decide to run it like that.
When they decide to run it like that. So why not have Survivor Series finally mean something again? And the winning team gets to do a Fatal 5-Way at, say, the next big Raw.
Yeah, like the next night on Raw. Sure. Like, why not? Like, legitimately, it would do good business.
Yep.
Or I guess you could say the following show. If the Raw team wins, then it would be the next night on Raw, the following SmackDown for SmackDown team winning. Whatever you do. But you're right. That would be a good way to create some value for Survivor Series, because War Games is fun. We know we like War Games. It's fun watching it. But there's nothing on the line, right? Like it's bragging rights essentially with a cage.
Exactly.
And Survivor Series has been that way for a long time as well. There's nothing really on the line. Most matches end up having like the mid-card champions in it anyways, or the tag champs, or the world champ even, right? So there's no titles on the line. There's nothing like that. Adding value to that finding a way to create brand warfare between Raw versus SmackDown again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 30 for the Royal Rumble. That sounds great.
That sounds awesome. Instead of just some random, this is how this is going to run and we're going to do like a draw and that they just rig it. At least the fans know, okay, our side, like, because I'm a Raw guy. I don't know about you, but I'm a Raw guy. Like, other people love SmackDown. But if I'm like, okay, Drew could potentially be number 30, that gets my juices flowing. Sammy.
Well, knowing what comes out of that match, that any of those 5 guys in the match could be the number 30 entrant of the Royal Rumble. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't have to write the storyline of Cody being like, oh, I want to enter at number 1 and run the gauntlet. Like, come on, we don't need that. We've seen it so many times now.
We're going to get it again, though, bud.
I know we're going to get it again. But at the end of the day, like, who cares? Like, you entered it.
He's going to win.
Let's go back to finally what we were saying and wrap this one up. But with this creative team now that we have in the core values and minds that we have in Triple H, Paul Heyman, Nick Aldis, Shawn Michaels, the whole crew, we haven't even talked about, I think we've mentioned Regal. We haven't even talked about William Regal. But the fact that we have these minds, is this almost like, and I hate to say it because I know you're an AEW fan, and I am too. I'm a fan of wrestling, but I'm just more of a WWE guy. Is this kind of the first step to really the future dominance that WWE is always going to hold over AEW? Like, is this where...
I don't think this is the first step. Those first steps took place years ago. Look, WWE is number 1 and AEW is number 2. I think more often that people say that and are okay with saying that, the healthier the wrestling business is going to be.
Yeah.
Right? I love what AEW produces. I love their work rate. At the end of the day, the biggest stars come from WWE. Most people will know the names of WWE wrestlers over AEW. So I don't think this is the first step. I think those steps took place years ago when AEW went head to head with NXT over, say, a Raw or a SmackDown. That told them right there where they think their company is going to be most successful, right? And again, no shots at AEW. I really enjoy their product, but it's WWE is number 1 and AEW is number 2, regardless of who's in creative right now. If AEW maybe were to add a few names who have become mega stars over the years, to the creative process and tried to help develop stars within their company as opposed to wrestlers, maybe they stand a chance. But as of now, I don't really think there's comparing of the two.
Who are those names that you think that they could try and pull and really... Because WWE seemed to have gone out and outsourced. They've not kept to their inner... Like, their core 3, obviously, Shawn, Hunter, and Paul. Like, they were always going to be there. But we have guys from, like, Impact, NWA, TNA, OVW, like, all the smaller ones that WWE we always thought never looked at. You know what I mean? So who are some names that you can really maybe pull off the top of your head right now and say, this is what AEW needs to take that step forward?
For me, it's the people who are already there that aren't given the creative position to begin with, who are signed to like these legend contracts. A Mark Henry, a Big Show, eventually an Edge or a Christian would be wonderful in an actual creative position. That's right off the top of my head. I do think bringing in people like Will Washington was a good move because it's completely different look at the business, right? He's a fan first. He's a online reporter, so he's involved with all the IWC stuff and everything like that. So that's a good name to add in. But like legitimately, a Paul White, Big Show, being brought into the creative team, I don't know how you could go wrong with that. He's been there across WCW, WWE. He's seen the business evolve. He's worked with all the top talent in the world. That would be a pretty good name to throw in there.
Absolutely. What about the likes of Kurt Angle? Kurt Angle came out publicly. He came out publicly, I think it was the other day, and he said he didn't take his producer role very seriously at WWE, and he knew when not John Laurinaitis, what's his name? When he called Kurt Angle up, he knew he was getting let go because he just didn't take it seriously. Now that Kurt Angle realizes that, do you think that's something that Tony Khan should really jump on, because Kurt Angle went through it all? And we're not talking perk Angle, we're talking like a clean mind.
Yeah, so I mean, bringing Kurt Angle in wouldn't be a bad idea, right? You've got Kurt Angle, a guy who again has been there throughout it all, right? He's worked in both WWE, Impact Wrestling, been involved in like some really big time storylines. whether or not he has the right mindset to create characters. I don't know. Like, as a producer, that sounds like a wonderful role for him because he can produce matches and tell them why you should frame it this way or why you should have this move go here or what have you. But
yeah,
as a creative mind for the business, I don't know what type of characters he actually has created through the years. He's Kurt Angle. He's the Olympic gold medalist, right?
Yeah.
It's Kurt Angle that got over, not necessarily his character, if you will.
I'll counter that because a lot of Kurt Angle's best work was, you know, like those little segments in the back with the small cowboy hat, where he walked out against the Undertaker wearing the bandana and the glasses, and like, you're the American badass, I'm the gold medalist badass type thing, and it was just that little gimmicky stuff that really worked for him. So I do think there's character development there that he can go, but it has to be a particular person that he could work with, and I think there is a line for him.
That's a fair way to look at it for sure. Now, I got to ask you, though, is that character work or is that just segment work? Doing something with your character that you currently have, and his character just happens to be Kurt Angle, the Olympic gold medalist, and he just is, you know, going into a rap battle with John Cena, or he's making fun of the Undertaker here. Like, throughout his entire career, there was not a lot of difference to his character other than I'm an Olympic gold medalist. I won it with a broken freaking neck. And, you know, sometimes I like to joke around with Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, it really was
you got me there.
The same character throughout his entire career because it was so damn good.
Yeah.
Right. There was nobody who came to his level. Like, he was the best at this time. Well, but whether or not he's actually got that mindset to create new characters, like, what does he do with the Alpha Academy, you know, other than just turn them into wrestlers?
Yeah.
You know, would he be having them do all the stuff we're seeing right now? Or would he just try to make them a serious wrestler? Is my question.
That's true. And we wouldn't have Tozawa sitting there curling.
Exactly.
Oh my God, that was great. Maybe we let the comments answer that one. Maybe the comments can come up with some ideas on who AEW really needs to bring in to combat that idea. So guys, if you made it this far in the conversation, make sure you put in the comments, who do you think WW or AEW should bring in to their creative team to really combat against the star-studded lineup that the WWE Creative Team has finally put together? Con, last thoughts on the conversation, and where can people find you?
Last thoughts on the conversation is we are living through an incredible time in wrestling right now, and I'm just so happy that the 2017-2018 era is gone.
Yeah.
We got through the pandemic era, and we now get good wrestling every single week. It's just a great time. If you want to find me, you can find me on all the socials at Conman167, whether that be Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Kick, or Twitch. I'm there, so go check me out across all of those. Love chatting wrestling and would love to see you guys in the streams.
Appreciate it. And guys, all my stuff is under MrTeshk. All the links will be down below. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this new and revamped episode of Straight Shoot, a wrestling podcast on Straight Shoot Media. Guys, and like always, be good people. Take care.